Just a few hours ago of this recording, a new article was released talking about Spiderman PS5. And before I jump into this, I want to say there's some pretty big spoilers in this leak. And if you don't want to hear about them, click away. Like, they're very big spoilers. And I consider them to be some pretty significant story spoilers as well. And I kind of wish I didn't read it, but if people are here and they want to hear these rumors that may or may not be true, it seems pretty legit, feel free to stick around. Alright, with that out of the way, I'm just going to jump straight into it. So at the beginning of this article, it talks about the game taking place in winter, which we already have heard about from past leaks, which straight away said to me that this leak had some legitimacy behind it, or it's just using obviously other fake rumors, but who knows, these rumors seem pretty true. Anyway, the gameplay that this person seen was from a Zoom call yesterday, at the time of this recording on April 17th, which was when yesterday was, and it talked about what they saw, the content they saw, specifically the story details, and the cosmetics, the cutscenes, everything they saw is in detail on this list. It talked about the intro, and it's about Peter Parker, not Spider-Man. He was calling MJ, talking to her about how J. Jonah Jameson is now back at the Daily Bugle, which was in the DLC from Spider-Man PS4, talking about how he wanted to return to his roots. And a new character is introduced to the player, Eddie Brock. And apparently his style and look is that of the Spectacular Spider-Man series, kind of big, bulky, blonde. According to this person, his design is based off the Spectacular Spider-Man TV series design, which will please a lot of fans, I'm sure. He went on to talk about the first mission in the game, which was Spider-Man collecting a balloon. Yes, that was the first mission. And it was just some simple stuff like that. Then he went on to talk about the big story leak that I consider to be very spoilery, and that's Harry and the symbiote. Now, apparently we see Harry and he's wearing the symbiote, and it doesn't look like Venom. It's kind of like a proto-Venom, as this person describes it in the article. Apparently this is coming from their source who watched the video. This person didn't see the video themselves. But anyway, this is what the person told them that wrote the article. And apparently Harry has just gone on a massive killing spree at the end of Act 1. And from there, the symbiote jumps off Harry and on to Spider-Man himself. And from there, we now have access to the black suit. Apparently how the black suit works is very similar to Web of Shadows. It can be swapped out by a simple button press, so you can go from the regular suit to the black suit. And in the gameplay, apparently he was wearing just the regular classic suit, but the player went out and swapped the suits, and every suit has a black suit variant. He went on to use the Raimi suit, and apparently it looked pretty much exactly like the 2007 movie, which it should, but you know, beautiful. And then they did the advanced suit as well, which also has a black variant, which we've seen a lot in fan art and things like that. And yeah, that was very interesting. And then another big story detail was we saw Norman Osborn smashing shit, and he threw a table out a fucking window. So obviously Green Goblin's probably going to be in this game, or it's going to be an origin story of Green Goblin, because Norman isn't Green Goblin. So apparently he has super strength, so I'm assuming, yeah, we're going to see Green Goblin in this game, and Venom. And then there's lots of other things, but a lot of it isn't super important in my opinion. The Statue of Liberty is actually a playable island. And then he went on to talk about the side missions. And the side missions, from what he said, included at least Mysterio. There was a fight with Mysterio himself. Apparently the person playing hinted at a certain side mission taking place in Hell's Kitchen with a certain lawyer. But he, obviously that means Daredevil, but we don't know if that means he's referring to actually playing with Daredevil in the game, or if he's just going to be mentioned or talked about, which will be very interesting to see. I would love to see Daredevil in a fucking Spider-Man game. That would be awesome. Then another side mission that was talked about was someone with a fantastic fiery side, which he's obviously referring to fucking the Human Torch from the Fantastic Four, and there will be a race system in place with him. So very Ultimate Spider-Man, very Web of Shadows. It seems that this new game is going to be taking elements from previous Spider-Man games that worked really well, just like the first one did. So I'm excited to see how that works. And then furthermore, on the side missions, apparently there's a lot more, and there are a lot more kind of individual and they're very unique in a way from what I've read or what I got from reading that. And apparently there's going to be lots of major villains and lots of not so major villains in the side missions, so that'll be really interesting to see as well, because the side missions weren't great. I didn't love them that much as Spider-Man PS4. There's definitely room to be improved in those areas, so I'll be very interested to see that as well. And then one of the other things he talked about was Miles, and obviously Miles is going to be playable, because if he wasn't, that would just be stupid. But apparently he's playable, and it's going to work like Arkham Knight, where you can't free roam as Miles, but he has obviously spots where you can fight as Miles, and there will be web swinging spots where it's on lower rooftops, so it's a lot more running and zipping, and it'll be a new web zipping mechanic apparently, and how that works. It wasn't explained in great detail, but apparently there's a new web zipping mechanic, so that's going to be put in place as well. And yeah, he talked about how you can swap from Peter to Miles in a fight, things like that, so very similar to Arkham Knight. I know many people probably wanted to be able to free roam as Miles, but you can't. And apparently Miles was wearing his classic Spider-Man costume. I don't know if he's talking about red and blue, but I'm assuming he means the black and red one. Like, I would hope so. But yeah, that's how Miles is going to work. We've also heard that in other rumors as well. And then finally, he talked about the DLC. And let me just say, apparently the DLC sounds pretty awesome. Apparently it's not fully fleshed out, as Insomniac said themselves. They said they aren't 100% sure on certain DLCs and if that's going to work out, because that's happened with other video games in the past. They plan to have a DLC, they don't release it because it just doesn't work. And it might get in the early stages like it is at now, but they won't release it. But from what I've heard, apparently the 3 villains in 3 separate DLCs will be Morbius, Carnage, and Wraith. And then the Carnage thing might be a Peter Parker Carnage, which I would love to see. I think I'd prefer to see that than a Cletus Cassidy Carnage. And that's obviously going down some different alternative routes like we've seen in the past, like Ultimate Spider-Man where we saw Peter Parker Carnage, things like that. So that sounds very interesting, and it seems like, again, Insomniac are taking elements from every other kind of Spider-Man game and Spider-Man stories and implementing them into this game. But apparently the Peter Parker Carnage thing, they aren't 100% sure on, and in that, you will be playing as Miles if that happens. They said they're still fleshing that out, apparently, so we'll wait and see where that goes. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I've been Seth from Silver Soul Gaming. Make sure to, check everything out from Silver Soul Gaming. And just remember, this is only a rumor / leak. Not everything's going to be 100% true. And one other thing I read was that expect a reveal in August. It was going to be summer in America, so June, July. But, coronavirus couldn't really happen. So, delays again in the video game industry, sadly, but we will see the game this year. And I don't know when it's going to release, probably 2021. But anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed. Like I said, subscribe, check everything out that is Silver Soul Gaming. And I will see you guys hopefully later this week for another video.